Hey guys, Pete here. This will be my Mr. Robot Season 4 Episode 9 review. The episode was titled 409 Conflict. It was written by Kyle Bradstreet and directed by series creator Sam Esmail. The headline here is we finally got us a Deus Group meeting, and Elliot and Darlene were able to pull off their hack. They finally delivered a blow directly to the top 1% of the 1%, and it feels like a victory. There's a relief in that after a season that I've thoroughly enjoyed, but has taken its time in making it to this moment. And what's more, we have another look inside Elliot's mind, and there's a lot to talk about there. White Rose is reeling at the end of it all, but hey, we still have 4 hours of Mr. Robot to go before we reach the finish line. The main story of episode 9 is surprisingly straightforward and relatively easy to follow. While what they're doing to pull off the hack is beyond my technical knowledge, the simple explanation of what they need to do is intercept two-factor authentication codes to bypass the bank's security and wipe out their accounts. To pull this off, they need to get all of the members of the Deus Group together in one place so they can hit them all at the same time. If they don't hit them all at once, there's a chance that someone could warn the other members, and that wouldn't result in a complete victory. Of course, this doesn't go off without any detours. White Rose changes the location for the Deus Group meeting, opting to have a face-to-face with Philip Price, the ex-CEO of E-Corp. She realizes that there's something going on between Price and Elliot, so she meets with Philip alone, trying to find out more about what Elliot's up to. And even though that gets turned on its head, the fact that she's at this other location really complicates the plans for the hack. Elliot and Darlene had secured a hotel room across the street from the original location. Because Elliot is still out of commission, Mr. Robot's the one that shows up. They start to get ready, but soon realize that Price and White Rose are the only people who are at this location. This means they have to split up because, as mentioned, they need to get everyone's phone numbers in order for this thing to work. So they decide that Darlene should go. She has everything she needs to pull off the hack. Before she does, she learns about Angela and Price's relationship, that Price is her father. When she gets to the new location, she realizes there's no way she's going to get inside. So she has to pull out a new plan, which involves making an F Society video. She releases that. That gets everybody running around. That gets the people inside worried because they start seeing alerts. And after she hacks the device that opens the parking garage exit, trapping all their cars inside, she's able to get them out on the street and get access to their phones. While this is all unfolding, there's all these great hallmarks of Mr. Robot as a series that we see. It's the great party shot where we see the camera enter the front door and go through the crowd. We get a look at a guy who is most definitely supposed to be Donald Trump in attendance. We see that security is super tight around these people. We get little ideas about how they operate. The oligarch says, "I just got off an 11-hour flight on Christmas Day. Whatever Minister Jong is planning better be good." He mentions that his wife's pissed off and his girlfriend won't take his calls. Well, all of what Darlene does is impressive, and I really enjoyed the callback to the original feeling of F Society with the video. My favorite part of this was the phone call when Mr. Robot decides to call Price's phone and gets White Rose on the line. In that exchange, White Rose brings up Angela and that she's not really dead. And it was really well put together in that everyone involved knows that White Rose is probably full of shit, but you still can't help but wonder what he wants to show Elliot. We see Price take notice when he mentions Angela's name. We see the transition from Mr. Robot to Elliot. And then by far my favorite part of the whole episode is when Elliot gets the message to turn on the TV and he says, "Here's the thing, I don't need help right now. You do." And that was just the best moment of the entire thing. There were also a lot of really funny moments in this. Michael Christopher did a fantastic job in his final performance as Philip Price. At one point, White Rose says, "You think I can't survive being doxxed?" And Price just says, "I have no idea. I'm as curious as you." Everything does work out for F Society here. Once Elliot gets White Rose's number, they're able to move all the money out of the Deus Group accounts. There's a great exchange on the steps where Price ends up buying time, reminding White Rose that he would rather see her lose than him win. And we hear the phones buzzing and he says, "Something wrong, old sport?" And what stands out the most to me is that we see that White Rose is completely unraveled by the situation. Like, it was beyond her comprehension that they could pull this off, that it was just not possible, and yet it happened. In a complete meltdown, White Rose grabs a gun off one of the bodyguards, shoots Price dead in front of a ton of witnesses. The bodyguards grab her up and get her out of there, but it's fairly obvious that there's no way that they can get away clean here. Just to add insult to injury, she sees Elliot leaving the scene on the way out. Then, of course, later we see her in her apartment in her mother's dress, putting on makeup. And we hear people pounding on the front door, the police trying to get inside. We hear gunshots. There's definitely a gun battle that happens. And it's crazy when you think about it. The most powerful person in the world, at least in this show's universe, is in a pretty difficult position at the end of it all. Now, we could get really nitpicky here and discuss how much this would really have an effect. I don't think it's worthwhile. I think the point is that the hack at least set everybody back. Everyone in the Deus Group, their information is out there. When Darlene released the video, she also released documents that they pulled off of the Dark Army's network at some point, whenever they had control, I guess. They've also been doing all the research this season about who was members of the group and the Cyprus Bank and all the connections. So we have to imagine that they've been outed as to who they are and what they've done. Regardless of how long that will set them back, the main thing here is that White Rose lost her composure and killed someone on a busy street with lots of witnesses, and there's really no going back at that point for her. Also, before this whole thing went down, we found out that Price passed a thumb drive with information related to Washington Township plant, so we know that Elliot will be going there in the next couple of episodes. That's promising because that's one of the biggest mysteries of the show that it still has to answer. What exactly is White Rose doing with Washington Township? What is she trying to move to the Congo? What has this all been about? And we did have the boardroom that is Elliot's mind. Magda, his mother, Mr. Robot, and a younger version of himself. I've watched this scene several times, and I wish I could give you a very clear explanation for what's happening. I've read quite a bit about DID, dissociative identity disorder, which is what Elliot has. And still, I don't exactly have a great explanation for how this is going to play out. I favor the theory that there's a host identity that we've never really met, or if we have, it's never been clearly defined. I think it's super interesting that Mr. Robot points out that Darlene may be the key. The poor boy, as Magda refers to this other identity, this other alter, Mr. Robot says that he woke up 2 months ago for Darlene. There's also mention of, "I'm going to tell him what he's done." And it's all super exciting. Like, I'm really feeling good after this episode as far as the ending is concerned. It's like Elliot has won the first round against White Rose, but we can't expect that she isn't going to go down without a crazy fight. That's going to involve what her idea for this project is, and it's going to involve us understanding the different alters that are within Elliot and how things turn out for him. We've lost another main character in Philip Price. Rip Philip, you were not a good person. I don't feel bad that you didn't get to come out on top at the end, but you delivered some quality last moments and definitely helped move this series along in your existence. I think a lot of people were probably hoping for a Tyrell return here. I know there was preseason photos that people keep putting up about him showing up at this meeting. That definitely didn't happen. Tyrell still feels dead to me. Always good to see Elliot and Darlene working together. The opening shot was the biggest surprise, seeing that hallway that we see in the trailers to the preseason, realizing that that's outside the boardroom inside of Elliot's head. Definitely makes me want to go back and look at those first couple trailer breakdowns I did and parse out which scenes we still haven't seen. We're getting close to the end game now. Everything that's left has to be coming out in the next couple of episodes. I felt a little bit surprised in the way that Mr. Robot carried himself inside that boardroom with Magda and the younger Elliot. We've just seen all this emotional stuff where we found out where he came from and how that all happened. And this almost made it feel like that he's still keeping things from Elliot, working behind his back. I guess that all depends on what it is they're trying to do, how they're trying to get him through this situation, and what their end game is as far as revealing to him what they think he needs to know. I'm not getting too worried about it at this point, but it did stand out to me. It's like, wait a minute, Mr. Robot was just completely on Elliot's side a minute ago in the previous episodes, and now it kind of feels like he's got an agenda behind the scenes, although his entire existence is there to protect Elliot. So I guess that's what he's doing. I guess I really like the idea of the integration of them working together and being honest, so I'm probably just reading too much into this. The fall of White Rose is certainly something I hadn't anticipated. Obviously, I thought they were going to have a showdown, and I hoped that Elliot would come out on top, but I didn't realize that there would be this external pressure put on the situation by White Rose losing her composure and murdering Price with 4 hours left to go in the series. So there is a lot to think about and a lot to talk about. What a show, what an episode, what a series. I love these characters, and I'm really going to miss this after it's all over. Let me know in the comments what you think about this. Is it a real victory? Is there something that we're overlooking? Is there any way that White Rose can bounce back from what happened here? Please like this video if you enjoyed it. Please subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Thanks for watching. I will talk to you soon.